Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are late as hell for the Buckeye roast. I shouldn't say we, I should say me. I am late for the Buckeye roast. It's your boy Ron James here with my guy QP Ski. Q, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I actually might be like worse than I was on Monday, but we'll live.
All I heard is you could have played yesterday and you sat soft.
Whoa, we're good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Having a few technical difficulties this morning. I could not get my laptop to connect to my monitor, so I was just sitting here shaking the cord like, oh, whenever you're ready. but, but we are here, plenty to talk about. The Buckeyes are coming off a top 5 win over Penn State, getting it done 20-13. We have not talked since the game. I know we have a couple national topics to get to, but Q, you're driving today.
Man, well, we'll get to that. We'll get through this national stuff quick, and then we can talk a little bit Buckeyes and my reaction to the game, which was ecstatic. It's one of the more fun games I remember in the last couple of years. But yeah, real quick, Gmo was first, so he's first on the chat. So shout out to Gmo. But it's always go Bucks here. Also, don't forget like the video. It's also election day, so make sure you get out there, vote. A lot of people work hard for everybody to get all these votes and have the ability to vote. So make sure you do that. Couple quick notes. A couple things I have will happen in the AP poll. First of all, Ron, I want to ask you very quickly. Lincoln Riley continues to struggle at USC. He lost to Washington. He said, "I don't have to lose it well. It hasn't happened much in my career." Ron, you are the USC AD. What do you do with Lincoln Riley and struggle to the Big Ten?
I mean, you just have to deal with it at this point. I mean, you locked him in for that much money, and I mean, when I go and look at the coaching landscapes, does it seem like there's just a slam dunk hire out there that USC could go get? I don't. It's not like they're in a position right now like they should be that they're just having overwhelming NIL or any crazy competitive advantage, despite being in one of the largest talent pools in the country, one of the nicest places for weather in the country, and they still can't seem to find anyone that wants to play defense over there.
Yeah, whole facts. They're kind of locked in, so we will see. But I did not expect this kind of struggle transitioning to the Big Ten, especially the way they started that win at LSU. I was like, oh, okay, we get the real USC. They're back, and that did not last long. All right, moving on, kind of dealing with USC, but another Big Ten emerging power. So Julian Lewis, one of the top-rated quarterbacks in the recruiting class, he's going to attend the Indiana versus Michigan game on Saturday. We know he has ties to Indiana. Indiana is playing well. Ron, we've talked about this kind of a lot. And these teams that now with the Big Ten, they have to step up. The Big Ten wants to level up and be the best conference out there. They got to go out. They got to win recruiting battles, all that good stuff, and try to get to that next level. So I ask, how important is this recruitment if Indiana wants to take that next step into just a flash in the pan or a consistent Big Ten contender?
It would be huge. I mean, Kurt Cignetti is going to make the entire country know his name if he's able to grab Julian Lewis. It just hit me yesterday. At no point did I put together while we were talking about Julian Lewis recruitment that Indiana is good this year. Like they might actually have a chance. Like when we saw those pictures drop of him holding a guitar at his official visit, I'm like, why? India, how, what? And now you look at the record and it's like, whoa, shit. If they grab him, that could be a problem.
Yeah, what? Yeah. Indiana is good. USC is bad. the two recipes to
How
actually
the turntables.
to actually make it somewhat of a thought. So yeah, I think this is very important in the Big Ten. I mean, obviously USC is a Big Ten team, but they never struggle getting quarterbacks. So I think Julian Lewis is far more important as the Indiana recruit than he is for a USC recruit because whether they have him or not, they will find somebody to play quarterback and at least look decent in some level of games. Also, too, they also have a Heisman candidate at quarterback. So all the lines kind of pointing for them to make a big stop here. So we will see if they are able to do that. Okay, so let's hop into we got the AP poll next. I wasn't sure if y'all talked about that Saturday, but if you did, we'll just touch on it real quick.
We did not.
Okay, cool. I was like, I didn't remember it. I'll show briefly, but let's have this AP poll. So, college football playoff poll is out. Is it this week?
Yes.
Okay.
Today. Tomorrow.
All right. So we get it. We'll get it
I
today.
knew something important was happening today. It was the college football playoff rankings coming out.
Yeah. So
big day.
So that will be out. So we will probably discuss that tomorrow. But we got the AP poll for now, so I'll just run through it. Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Miami somehow still climbs up the poll. And Texas, Penn State moves to 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana's now 8. So we have a big matchup next week. They both win. BYU at 9, Notre Dame at 10. A lot of people have talked about this win for Ohio State and how Georgia played against Florida. Are you satisfied with Ohio State at 3 coming off that win, or would you like them to have been 2 after this?
Should have been 2. I mean, the Buckeyes have the better. I mean, I guess no. Georgia beat Texas, right?
Yeah, they beat Texas.
I mean, they have the higher win. I guess they do deserve it. I was going to say no. The Buckeyes have the higher win, and I'm looking. I'm like, Texas at 5. So yeah. I mean, I guess Georgia deserves it. I mean, they didn't probably look the greatest this past weekend, but overall, I do feel like they have 2 better wins than the Buckeyes with Texas and Alabama. That's 2 top 12 wins. The Buckeyes only have Penn State. Maybe once they beat Indiana, they are able to jump them, but I'm fine with 3 at the moment.
Yeah, same here. We'll see how this playoff poll leaks out. So we'll talk about the poll more then. But right now, I'm not complaining. It'll settle itself as we get on later in the season. Okay, moving on from the AP poll. We have team of the week, which I wanted to talk about because we actually had an Ohio State player make the team of the week. So move it over here. There we go. Your boy Davison Igbinosun had a big time game this week, so he actually made the team of the week. It was the first time for an Ohio State player. I remember checking this thing like 15 times. So I think in the last like 5 weeks we haven't had a guy. So on Saturday, and shout out to Terry because that's Terry's guy. He absolutely balled out. 1 interception, 1 pass breakup, a 34.4 passer rating allowed, and a 90.5% coverage grade. Davison Igbinosun, I want to ask you on Saturday, were you surprised with his performance? We kind of had said, well, he's the guy who kind of holds. He's been the mark a little bit. I mean, he did have the good game against Oregon where Denzel Burke was worse, but typically he's the guy who kind of calls trouble for the defense, not as the outlier bright spot. So were you surprised at his performance on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely stepped up and had the biggest performance on defense on Saturday. That interception was probably the play of the game. Surprised? I mean, not really. I say he's a very high caliber cornerback, and it's he's going to hold on every play. If they call it, might be a rough game. If they don't, it's going to be a long day for the defense or for the offense. So, I mean, a great game by Iggy. I love the physicality. I love the energy. I think even more than the play, I love the energy on the sidelines, and it felt like a different team. I said the team was borderline unrecognizable on Saturday.
No, sounds good. Yeah, I thought he absolutely balled out, and we'll talk about this in a second. But I think I'm gonna skip bracketology. I'm gonna wait till this college football playoff poll kind of comes out, and then from there we can talk some bracketology and kind of see where Ohio State may land. But around you wanted my thoughts on Saturday from the Penn State game. Like I said, I was absolutely ecstatic at the way Ohio State came out and performed. This was one of the more, fun games that maybe we've had over the years. I mean, it was on the verge of being a blowout. And then, of course, Ohio. I always say this. When we get to these big time games, Ohio State, more than any other team I have seen, finds ways to dominate games, but keep the scoreboard close. I don't know if it's just me that feels that way, but it's like, if we, just execute, maybe not turn the ball over, we're probably up like 20. But we get into these games and we always find a way to keep them close. Just, just stress Ron out, I guess. But I mean, you talk about, the defense absolutely balling out. I called it last week. I said it's going to be a Jim Knowles masterclass. I thought the defense would come in, especially with Penn State not having really any good receivers. I thought they would come in, absolutely lock shit down. The pass rush, we got a couple sacks in there. There was sacks. Would like to see guys, have a little more sacks without maybe getting pressure, sending 4, but that's maybe not going to happen. But I thought the linebackers were good. I got the defensive line. And the biggest thing and what made it fun Saturday was rotation in big spots. I mean, yesterday was basically a Brandon Ennis special, for the show. But seeing him come in at a big time moment and score a touchdown. But Ron, we're down 3, driving into Penn State territory. How much would have been the odds if you said we're going to have 3 backup receivers in and they will also throw the ball and try to score there? Like, it would have been a plus $1 billion.
Absolutely. I mean, the odds would have been crazy. I don't even know what to say.
You could even put a cap on the odds on there. It would have been $1 and you're a billionaire for that. But defensive line rotation, you see Edric Houston and guys in there, Arvo Reese, CJ Hicks sighting in there. Jermaine Matthews continues to play a good number of snaps. I have a snap count. I wish he played a little more, and we can go through that in a minute if you want. But the trust of this team, the momentum, Chip Kelly was an absolute – that second drive from Chip Kelly is one of the best series that I've seen an offensive coordinator put in a while. That drive was absolutely perfect. So, yeah, we do that. But Ron's got to jump in a minute. He's got a text, but I'll finish up my thoughts. Yeah, just the fun of this team, just the going into that atmosphere and getting a win was absolutely crazy to me. And that just sets momentum for going forward, because I mean, we obviously know Will Howard to me did not have a great game, and he's really kind of kept it on the verge of it still being competitive and not quite having the blowout, but everything else was there. So Will Howard, and that's probably his, I don't know where y'all would rate it. For me, it's probably is one of his worst games as a Buckeye for me, even though he hasn't necessarily had a bad game. And I would say it's probably decent, maybe on the level of bad. Those 2 turnovers are costly. Fumbling going across the end zone is a bit rough. And also, too, the pick 6 to open the game. I haven't seen a 22 film, so I don't know if that's quite his fault. That's a coaching call or whatever, but still not a good decision to go down 10. But yeah, man, just the vibe of this team, the way they go in, the way they handle adversity, going down 10, getting punched in the mouth. We get it. We're at Penn State. Penn State's always going to bring their A game. The crowd is absolutely ruckus and just getting it done. The defense being stout 2 times on the goal line, no points, making field goals, which I know Ron will be happy about. All those things has so much to build on going forward. So for me, and I don't know where y'all rate it, but y'all tell me, in the Ryan Day era, what is the biggest wins, I say, for you, like the most satisfying wins you would have? Because for me, this one kind of goes right behind, I would say it probably goes right behind Clemson, maybe the Clemson revenge game. That may be the one I would put above it. But besides that, that's probably the most fun win, especially when this team needed it. We had to have it. We go in, we couldn't lose, and they absolutely take care of business. So I'm super satisfied with this win here. I'm hoping, we got Indiana in a couple weeks, so being able to, and Mr. Bugner said it, he said this at Clemson, most definitely, those are probably the 2 out there where, we don't, like I said, we've been in these big time games. Yeah, Oregon earlier in the year, we've had Georgia before we leave, and it's just like a bad taste. Like, we don't execute. This time we do get it done, and it's just a super fun victory, man. I remember I talked to Pat right after the game. I called him, and we're absolutely jumping and buzzing because we talked a little bit before the game. We're like, I hope Ryan Day and Knowles figure this out. I hope they don't screw it up, because they got to have it here, and they absolutely did. So some things I want to touch on, because I brought up the rotation and the trust in big moments. The snap count for me doesn't exactly reflect maybe what we saw. I think maybe we're so surprised to see it, but at wide receiver, I mean, Brandon Ennis, he only plays 3 snaps, which I'm surprised. It felt like he made a couple plays in there. Bryson Rodgers with 2, Jaden Ballard with 2, even just seeing them on screen completely shocked me. At defensive end, Kenyatta Jackson with 15 snaps, Caden Curry with only 5, and Mitchell Melton with only 4. Again, I still want to see more rotation there going forward. I mean, those guys, JT has a sack. And also, too, Something that I hate to complain about, but does it feel like to y'all we have the most almost sacks in college football, where our DNs have guys like dead to rights and don't get sacks? Like they had a Penn State quarterback looking like Lamar Jackson. I'm like, bro, you telling me you're this close to can't sack him? It was too funny, but overall, I mean, I wish there was a little more rotation. Caden McDonald played some. Edric Houston, who might just be a 3 tech now. I mean, I'm guessing we keep seeing him at defensive tackles. Maybe he's moving over there. Hero Canoe at 4 snaps, and Arvo Reese at 17, and CJ Hicks signing with 2. But you leave with the win. And I think this victory honestly just builds trust. I mean, those guys who have, worked hard and grinded all season, finally getting moments and trust in those big moments is something. You look at this team, you're like, that's something you can really build momentum off of. So going forward, I expect Will Howard to play better. I expect this team to continue to get better. And you look at, we got Indiana and we got Michigan and then the rematch here. So again, as long as we stay healthy, the offensive line was absolutely dominant. I guess I really didn't touch on them. We called for Carson Hinsman for weeks now. We're like, what happened to him? He went MIA, the highest graded player on Saturday, I think behind Will Howard, which y'all know how I feel about the grades. But Carson Hinsman and the offensive line, they were absolute dudes. And they move people in pass pro. You got to help Donovan Jackson out, but him moving the tackle, going against Abdul Carter, who is the best pass rusher in the Big Ten. Where can we find one of those? That would be nice, but absolutely dominant. But having him come in there and really ball out in this offensive line, I mean, I want to know your ratings. If you had to give an offensive line 1 through 5, put it in the chat. Let me know what you would grade them. But I would have to say, like, if we could use Haas, probably 4.5. Them moving Quinshon Judkins, and this is something Cam talked about in the preseason. Right before we started the season, we got Quinshon Judkins, and you can see it on that last drive. He's like, Travion Henderson, we like the way he runs. Sometimes he, gets tackled or goes down a little easy, and I think Trey's run really hard this season. But you saw it on that last drive. Quinshon Judkins' first contact does not bring him down. It looks like they have him dead to rights. He squirts through for 3-4 more yards. It was super impressive. And this offensive line is able to move bodies, and we were able to establish the run. When they say we have all guards, we should be able to run the ball. If they're able to establish the run, Will Howard could connect on a couple deep balls. I mean, I'm back on the boat that's like, there's no dominant teams in college football. There's no one who's really unbeatable. I mean, we're not as other people, but feel like we can go beat Oregon. Feel like we kind of gave that game away. You feel like, Texas, Georgia, all those teams out there that can be beat. And I'm very much back on the bandwagon of, this team can win a natty. Now we got to execute the defense again. Like Penn State was not a good test on the edges, and we'll see that again. We'll see teams with better receivers, but I'm still confident in BIA, especially now that they're rotating players. Makes it a little better, but with the defense we got, safety play is one of the best in the nation. BIA is one of the best in the nation. Still find a way to create pressure, and this offense is able to move bodies, and we you can throw the ball. I'm back on Ohio State. I'll be disappointed if they lose and they continue this up. But yeah, that's most of the notes I had. I know Ron had to run out, but let me check chat to see if y'all have anything you want to touch on. Let me see if I see anything here. Also, too, well, since Gmo was the first one in the chat, I actually got in an argument with Miami fans on Bleacher Report. So I would love if Gmo still in here to let me know who y'all played this season. That's all I want to know. They tried to tell me Miami had the second toughest schedule in all of college football. And I'm like, there's not one ranked team on your schedule. And who have y'all played? And no one, I still have this argument going on Bleacher Report. I haven't hopped in there, but definitely I will, because I got to ask you if y'all play. So Gmo gave you the first shout out. If you're still in here, let me know who have y'all played. That's the one question I have for Gmo. But going forward, yeah, man, I'm super confident in this team. I'm very happy. Oh, here we go with Louisville. Louisville lost 3 games, man. That's probably the best team. If y'all somehow have avoided Pitt and SMU, but we will see. You'll have your chance later down the line. But this second toughest schedule, I don't know about all that. Anywho, yeah, man, I'm super happy with this win on Saturday. It's hard. You can't be negative after a win like that. All I want is this team to continue to move forward, get better, and we will see what happens. But a couple big time weeks coming up. Like I said, college football playoffs. The rankings will drop, I think, today. So I'll have that up here for tomorrow because that'll be something fun to talk about. Because I want to do bracketology, but I didn't want to do it, and teams are not where they're supposed to be in here. Then the graphic's just going to look crazy. But like I said, man, the landscape is wide open. Another great Saturday of college football. And again, that Penn State game, it was just fun, man. It was fun to see the team vibing. It's good to see Ryan Day with a smile on his face. It's good to see Chip Kelly get in his bag. I mean, we felt like, we were like, well, where was the Chip Kelly we hired, last week against Nebraska? And he comes out and puts together some great drives. And again, we leave feeling like we should have blown Penn State out, and that's a tough place to win. Obviously, going into that crowd, it's hard to do, but again, I really don't have any complaints. Y'all got any questions or anything I can hit before we go, or I'll get to a little house cleaning and we will get out of here. So let me check the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Definitely agree with Don. We can beat Oregon. We see them on a neutral field. I think it's a wrap. Yeah, I'm with you, Doug. Some people are saying that. You know what? You know what's funny? We were in the chat, and Ryan Day with and we all know his record with top 5 wins. As soon as we won that game, the college football chats on Twitter was like, "Well, I didn't think Penn State was top 5 anyway." And I'm like, "Look, bro, if we would have lost that game, all y'all would have been like another top 5 loss." So I don't want to hear it. It's hard to get credit, especially if you're Ohio State, man. It's hard to get credit for the wins you get because they're always going to criticize it one way or another. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. Yeah, I do hope we play Miami as well, Mr. Bucknuts. Here. Also, Doug, I was on the east side of the country and I came all the way to the west coast. So I spent pretty much my whole life there. So I don't know if I'm going back anytime soon, but we'll see. That's mostly what I see from everybody. If you got any questions, throw them in there as I wrap up the show. I will see. I don't know if we have anybody on tomorrow in particular, but I will check with Ron to see if we have anybody on. No, Terry was in here early, and maybe sometimes people on Wednesday. So I will double check, see if we have anybody in there. But tomorrow, full slate of shows. Obviously, the Fans Edge will be on tomorrow night. So don't forget, I was going to screw the time up because I'm on West Coast time. So I don't want to screw it up, but just know it's on tomorrow night. We'll be back. Try to make sure it's at 8 a.m. I'm like battling both like painful ears and my throat is killing me. So I will thug it out for tomorrow. So we got well more Ohio State stuff to talk, and definitely want to go back and forth with Ron. But don't forget, if you're on Twitter, go ahead and like that video. I know we started way late, so our fault on that one. Go ahead and like and retweet that. If you're in the community, go ahead and like and retweet that video. Repost it if you can. We greatly appreciate that. If you're not in the community, please let us know. We can definitely get you in there and love talking ball and things like that. And I don't know. It might be the biggest college football like for team page on Twitter. I haven't seen one bigger, and ours is at 8K, and the other ones that I'm around most definitely are not that size. So make sure you get in there. I think that pretty much covers it, man. So great win on Saturday. I greatly appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Shout out to our members. I see Posh in here, Charles Green. So definitely shout out to them. Gmo's first one in the chat. I'm still waiting for Miami to catch this L, but as long as y'all continue to win, you'll get very minimal slack from me. Refs, bailing you out or whatever included. We will but as soon as you lose, I'm dedicating a whole show. I might just come in by myself and just do a Miami show. It's all Ron's back,
bro. Peel back the curtain, bro. I've had this conversation with my mother, I don't know, 150 fucking times. Like, when the show is, when I'm live. Please don't call or text me with any bullshit while I'm on the show. I don't care even if someone is dead. I can't bring them back to life while I'm on the show. Like, they're gone. Give me the 15 minutes to finish the show, and then we can process whatever the fuck happened. But no, of course, an emergency at 8:40 in the morning to pull me away in the middle of the show. That is a non-emergency. So we are back.
Yeah, I pretty much gave him my thoughts on the game. I told him, hey, Honestly, Ron, I want to ask you this question. Where would you rate that game on level of like just fun victories you walk away from? For me, that Penn State game is probably right behind the Clemson revenge game as far as like leaving just juiced up after the game.
Bro, I was so hyped. And even with how close the game felt, it never felt like the Buckeyes were going to lose after they scored that first touchdown after the pick six. And I'm right there with you. I was so amped up after that game. Like, I felt like I could run through a wall. And it was a fun victory. And it felt like it was one of those victories that it felt like the Buckeyes were going to have all year. Like, it felt like this team was going to go out and dominate every week, feel more physical, feel like they're the better team each week that they step out on the field. And really not much to complain about. And even the things that you could complain about feel very fixable. Nothing doomsdayish. There's no large looming questions about the team or or their identity coming out of the game. So just having that enjoyable Saturday and getting to see them really go out there and put their foot on the gas. It was a great time. It was probably one of the easily the funnest game all season, and definitely one of the funner ones in recent memory. Because I mean, even the Penn State games being big games, not always guaranteed to be a fun watch. I remember the first year that we started doing the show, my buddy Loya that has done our Penn State previews for us in years past is at my house watching the game, and we ordered a lunch. I'm doing the halftime space, and this is one of the biggest spaces we had ever had at that point. There's 200 plus people in there. Bro, my legs are like shaking. Like, oh man, I don't want to get on camera if they lose. So, I mean, in years past, these games haven't been as enjoyable, even though we've had some pretty good battles back and forth with Penn State, but to get through that one and be able to just leave the game excited with no worries and not really have to sweat it out. I mean, maybe if you're box score watching, people were sweating it out, but anyone watching that game, it felt like the Buckeyes had it in hand after that first turnover.
Yeah, like I said, they were a couple of mistakes from probably a blowout, but yeah, man, and it's not just that we won; it's the way we won. Guys getting in there, like I said, this felt like the most team victory. I mean, you see Edric Houston playing at Penn State. It's like, what? How did he get on the field? CJ Hicks playing Penn State. Like I said, the receivers. It's just like the trust was there, the vibe of the team was there. And if you, like you said, if you saw Brendan Ennis, IG post game, if you saw the clips, Ohio State media was putting out, you saw Chip and Ryan Day hugging, right after the game. It was masterful, man. I can just say it was such a fun victory. Obviously, things still to build on. Will Howard can play a lot better, but just leaving, man, there's no complaints. That's a fun Saturday, and I'm hoping it continues to vibe that way. Because I felt like even if he had won that Oregon game, that didn't feel like the team had fun. Playing at Oregon, a win makes it a little bit better, but it didn't feel like they were enjoying being in the moment. And this is one of the times where it felt like Ohio State had enjoyed being in the moment. So. Ended there. So definitely, do we have a guest on tomorrow? I was wondering if we did. If not, we'll just run it back.
I think we are just going to run it back. I can reach out to Anand and see if he wants to talk about PSU. I know that's a little bit sooner than we usually talk. We like to put a little bit of buffer in there, but we can reach out. I do have a super chat I wanted to get to, and maybe you know what he means by this. My guys, what up? We have an OnlyFans line. Thank God. What's that mean?
I think he means offense. But I'm with you. I talked about earlier. The offensive line, Carson Haseman, whatever he did to get out of jail, they finally played him, and it was much needed. I told him, I was like, we can move the ball like that. I expect Will Howard to hit on some deep balls. Like, again, you look at the landscape, and it back again feels like this team can win a natty. Like, every team is beatable. There's no dominant teams out there. We've seen teams not be consistent, not play well. This Ohio State team, though we've had mistakes, has been consistent and has not, come out, and besides maybe the Nebraska game, has not come out even like, the hell was that? For most weeks or not, they show up and they perform. And even a loss against Oregon, you're like, you're that close to getting over the hump. So I'm back on the bandwagon of it's natty or bust. As long as the offensive line continues to perform, I'm with it. I'm riding the train. So,
I mean, the Mike Norvell train derailed, so you didn't have much choice if you wanted to get to your next stop.
We just don't talk about Dan Lanning around here.
I wanted to give a big shout out to Posh, member for 1 month. Love this platform. Hugs to you guys. Go Bucks. A big shout out to Posh for always supporting us, and we appreciate it the most. Q, I don't know how much you had an opportunity to talk about this, but it is a really big day, and we don't normally get too serious on this platform, but I really did want to take a minute and deliver a message to Omar Khan. It is the NFL trade deadline. If you don't go out there and get me a damn wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this country is going to fall apart. And like, everybody needs to take note of how important of a day this is and what this means for Omar Khan and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I need everybody to go out there and tweet at Omar Khan and make sure he gets me a wide receiver. Democracy is on the line.
Couldn't be my franchise. We all good receivers.
Oh, man. But yeah, Q, I mean, the Buckeyes get a massive win. You talked about jumping back on the train, the bandwagon, whatever you want to call it. I mean, how worried were you going into this game, and how much has your perspective changed? Because it felt like we had so many questions, and like Mike said, we have an offensive line. That felt like almost like a fatal flaw to this team that they weren't going to be able to bounce back from as far as getting this offensive line going. Or how surprised are you that the Buckeyes were able to patchwork together an offensive line and look the way they did against Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all touched on it Saturday. I mean, how often do you have a guy that started all last season and you haven't even decided, hey, let's give him a shot? Like, a lot of teams do not have that. Luckily, that was the last resource we had, and it happened to be a good one. I mean, I was super impressed, and you can see Chip Kelly trusting his offensive line, and that was more it was. Seeing Chip Kelly really get in his bag and knowing, like, I was like, where was the guy we bought? I mentioned this. I was like, where's the guy we paid for last week? Like, this is not Chip Kelly. This is not what I bought. Oh, there he is. Okay. Like, that's, like I said, that second drive is one of the best I've seen offensively coordinated in a while. And the offensive line being able to move bodies, like, I say you got to give Donovan Jackson a little protection in pass pro, but that going in, and you don't see Abdul Carter every week. But outside of that, if this team can run the ball, you trust your wide receivers on the edge. I know we didn't connect on the deep ball like we wanted to, but it's there. You got to be super excited. And the way they move bodies, like, and Chip Kelly's trust in the offensive line, that was the thing. It wasn't like, oh, we patchworked his offensive line, and he's like, we'll stay away from it, and we won't give him, like, we won't expose that we have problems in there. He was like, no. We're going to bowl up and we're going to run the ball against Penn State, who consistently has one of the best defensive lines and pass and rush defenses in college football. So you can do it against them. You can do it against anybody. So I'm excited the way this offensive line played, and Chip Kelly's play calling and his trust in there. And shout out to Justin Fry. I know we criticize him, week in, week out. Still needs to recruit a little bit better. We're hoping some guys who he has recruited continues to step up and develop. But being able to put an offensive line together with, 6 days notice is not the easiest job to do. So, hey, whatever he's getting paid, he earned it this week.
Yeah, I feel like I might have to back off my favorite saying about PFF. Hey, they tell me when someone's good. I mean, they may not always get it right about someone being good, but when they tell me someone stinks, they stink. I'm going to just classify this as a potential typo and say that they forgot to type the score in, but I'm looking at the PFF grades for Ohio State's offense, and they have a 0 for Donovan Jackson's pass block grade. I'm just going to assume that's a typo and they forgot to type in what the grade was. So we'll wait for them to correct that, because I find it hard to believe Bro got a 0 when Zen got a 13 the week before. But they did shaded red as if that was the correct number. So
I don't know how you get a 0. You have to get beat every play to get a 0. Like what constitutes? I would like them to put out what constitute these grades. Like,
I'm not familiar with their methodology, but if they don't start as negative, I might be able to get another line off that. Like, hey, I graded just as high as Donovan Jackson on pass blocking according to PFF.
Yeah, well, lucky for you, Terry, and I won't have to run out and try to pass pro next week, and we might be able to still get it done, because I thought he made a lot of money on Saturday. Yeah, they left him on the edge by himself a couple times, but a 0 is crazy.
Question for the chat: if Q had to start at left tackle next week against Purdue, could the Buckeyes get the win still?
Yes, if you do a run out to the right side every play, we might be able to get it done.
Oh man, that would be too funny.
I would
How many
say
over under pre-snap penalties if Q started at left tackle? Let us know in the chat.
it's going to be under because I'll be absolutely terrified when I line up and see a dude 6'5", 270. The better thing is over under amount of plays that I play at left tackle because it might be one when I get bowled.
Bro, when they see you with that bonnet on under your helmet, it'll strike fear. It'll strike fear in their heart. They won't even want to pass rush.
Now that would be crazy. Oh, that's too funny.
Well,
for the most part, I'll talk through it. I covered pretty much everything here because I know we got to get to work pretty soon here. But yeah, man, excited about the game. Again, I remind everybody, make sure to like that video. If you're on Twitter, don't forget, if you want to get in the community, let us know if you're not in there. Like and retweet that. If you're here on YouTube, I know we got started late. We do apologize for that. It'll be better tomorrow, but make sure you like that video and share it too, man. I know y'all know some Buckeye fans who wake up in the morning, they don't watch nothing. Or they watch something that comes, they're like, shows don't start till 9. Well, the show's on at 8 in the morning. It's the only show on. So make sure you get in here and share that with them. Make sure you like that. And yeah, man, Ryan, you got anything before we jump out of here?
Yeah, no, just make sure you guys go out there and find a Discord. We got some cool things that are going to be going on over there soon. So if you haven't joined the Discord, make sure you check out the link in my bio. It's at 2Ts on Twitter. So if you're looking for the Discord link, it is there. It's also probably linked in a few old videos. We'll start getting that back in the description as well. So yeah, if you're looking for the Discord, you know where to find it. Anything else before we get out of here, Q?
No, that's it. I know we talked about this for a week. I'm gonna cook up something for members this week. I don't know if I want to do like maybe a quick post.
Spaghetti dinner for everybody. Wow,
yeah.
Chef Q.
You show up, I'll cook for you. If everybody wants to travel across the country, like go right ahead.
Well, I mean, you're 30 minutes from Pittsburgh, 30 minutes from DC, and 30 minutes from the Woody. So I mean, it shouldn't be that hard to get there.
Central location. Just take the Harry Potter train. It's
platform 9 3/4.
But yeah, I'll cook us something this week. Maybe I'll grab Chris Drew and we'll just have a little talk college football or something. I usually pull Chris when I need something. He's indebted to me for life. So maybe we'll do that. We'll get something for you members. I promise you this week I'll have something for you. Hopefully I'll tell you on Thursday or Friday. But yeah, man, if you want to find me so we can get out of here, see what Quentin on Twitter, Minor League Films here on YouTube. My page is growing a little bit, almost at 300. So we cook it a little bit. But yeah, there, Finding Johnson on Instagram. Pretty much all place you can find me here every morning at 8 a.m. on weekdays. Ron, get us out of here.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts2_TES. You can find me here weekdays with Q for the Buckeye Roast, Monday through Friday. You can catch me Wednesdays in the Bleacher Report app with Chris Drew for our weekly preview. If you want to check out our Ohio State Purdue preview, be sure to check us out on the Bleacher Report app tomorrow at 5 p.m. Saturdays on the Menace to Sports Menace to Sports page for the Best Damn College pregame show, post games with Juck on Bucks, and then Sundays for Buck IBS right here on the Best Damn Media YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you guys get out there and vote today. And of course, it's always go Bucks. And of course, OH.
IO.
Yeah.